The air on Oak Haven Island always tasted of salt and secrets. For Alara, the secrets were the most compelling part. At 24, she was the island's only full-time librarian, but her true calling was chronicling its forgotten stories. Her favorite place was the old stone lighthouse, a sentinel that had guided ships for over a century. Its current keeper was Elias Thorne. He was quiet, ruggedly handsome in a way that spoke of long days battling the elements, and he possessed the most unnervingly blue eyes she had ever seen. He was also completely uninterested in anyone but his duties. One blustery October afternoon, Ilara hiked up to the tower. She wasn't seeking a book this time, but a specific old logbook rumored to contain the journals of the first keeper. Elias was polishing the colossal Fresnel lens, his movements methodical and graceful. The light caught the brass, turning the room into a cascade of molten gold. "Looking for a good storm, miss?" he asked, his voice low, a sound as comforting as the foghorn's distant call. "Looking for a good story, Mr. Thorne," she corrected, smiling. "The first keeper's logs. Do you still have them?" Elias stopped. "The keeper's lament? Old man Silas's ramblings? Why would you want those?" "They say he saw the impossible. He wrote of a woman who only appeared in the densest fog, warning ships away before vanishing," Ilara explained, her eyes sparkling. "It's a local legend, and I want the source." He sighed, wiping his hands on a rag. "In the back room, but be warned, Silas was lonely. He wrote what he wished to see, not what was real." Ilara spent the next hour absorbed, seated on a dusty stool. The journal entries were indeed the desperate poetry of a solitary man. But then, on the last page, she found a small, pressed silver four-leaf clover. Tucked beneath it was a small, elegant sketch of a woman's face. Suddenly, a loud crack of thunder rattled the thick glass of the lantern room. The light flickered, then died, plunging the tower into absolute darkness, save for the storm-swept windows. "A fuse!" Elias's voice was instantly commanding. "Stay put, Miss Ilara. I'll check the generator." He descended the iron spiral staircase, leaving her alone in the suddenly cold silence. Ilara fumbled for her phone's flashlight. The beam fell back on the sketch. It was beautiful, haunting. The woman had Elias's eyes. Just then, a voice, soft as sea foam, whispered close to her ear. "Don't let the light stay off, Elias. The ship is close." Ilara spun around. No one, but the air around her smelled of damp lilac and a scent she couldn't place, something like antique paper and distant hope. She scrambled down the stairs, heart pounding. "Elias, hurry! Something's wrong!" She found him in the cramped engine room, struggling with a tangled belt on the backup generator. "It's being temperamental," he grunted. "Give me 5 more minutes." "We don't have it, Elias. There's a ship, I know it, and the light needs to be on." Ilama grabbed his arm. He looked at her, his blue eyes searching. "How do you know there's a ship? My radar is down with the power. Is this about Silas's ghost?" "Maybe," she admitted, gripping his sleeve tighter. "But the sketch, Elias, in the logbook, the woman, she has your eyes." Elias stopped struggling with the engine. His face paled, then hardened. He didn't question her. He just looked through her, as if at a memory. He pushed past her and sprinted up the stairs, a wrench in his hand. Ilara followed, stumbling. When she reached the lantern room, he was already working feverishly on the light's mechanism, bypassing the main electrical system with a rusty hand crank to get a temporary rotation. With a grinding protest, the massive lens began to turn. A weak, orange-yellow beam pierced the torrential rain and the fog. In that very moment, a low, desperate horn blast echoed from the sea, impossibly close. It was a large ship, dangerously off course, heading straight for the treacherous reefs of the island's northern tip. Elias finished the manual bypass, his face glistening with sweat. The light began to sweep steadily, a clear, unmistakable warning. They watched in silence as the ship's mast light slowly veered off course, narrowly escaping disaster. When the ship was gone, and the only sounds were the rain and the grinding of the crank, Elias leaned his head against the cold brass frame of the lens. "My grandmother," he said, his voice barely a breath. "She was the first keeper's daughter. She stayed here her whole life, waiting for the one ship her love was on, the one he never made it back from. They say she died in this room, watching the sea. My mother gave me the logbook. I hid the sketch when she wasn't looking." Ilara didn't move. The mystery was solved, but the true story, a story of eternal devotion, was just beginning. "She was protecting you," Ilara whispered. "She protected your light." Elias turned, those vivid blue eyes finally resting on her, no longer distant. He took a step toward her, his expression a mixture of awe and profound relief. "And you," he said, his voice raw. He reached out and gently brushed a damp strand of hair from her cheek. "You brought her back. You brought the story out of the shadows, Ilara." In the warm, temporary glow of the turning light, with the ocean's relentless storm raging outside, Elias Thorne finally saw more than his duty. He saw the island's librarian, the keeper of its history, and the woman who had just saved the lighthouse, and perhaps him. He gently placed his hand over hers. "What do you wish to write about next, Miss Ilara?" She didn't need to look at her notes. The next story was already happening. "I think, Mr. Thorne, I'll write about the night the lighthouse keeper finally saw the light." And in the cold brass heart of the old tower, a new warmth began to shine. The end.